So if you haven't been to one of these before, thank you for coming. In 15 minutes, usually, hopefully, I will build an agent, and then for the second half of the half hour, we'll take Q&A. So this time, it's a little bit of an unknown quantity. I feel like I say this every week. It's a little bit of an unknown, slightly difficult to test because I've obviously got an email inbox for demonstration purposes, and the more I test with that, the less demo data I've got for the actual demo. So I didn't manage to test this super thoroughly. So we'll just go with it and see how we go. We are pretty excited though to demo a new feature that's already gone out yesterday, I think, which is the new agent creator. So there's a couple of ways in AutoHive to build an agent. One is using a really comprehensive prompt engineer called Prompt Writer. And the other is talking with an AI on the agent settings page and telling the agent what you want, and it will write the instructions and give the agent a name and add tools to it and all of that stuff. So you just have a conversation about what you need and you get the output created for you. So that's only just gone out yesterday. It's super cool, really powerful, really effective as well. So I think today I'll use that for this build. I might even build in parallel and show you what Prompt Writer would do in the same situation. And there's certainly scenarios where I would encourage the use of Prompt Writer over the agent creator. It tends to be down to what are the stakes of the output from this agent. So in this case, the stakes are pretty low, right? We're going to build an agent that checks your email inbox for newsletters, reads them, summarizes them, sends you a summary, hopefully marks them as read and archives them. Not that big a deal. It's not public facing. If it messes it up, it doesn't really matter. So in a scenario like this, using the agent creator will get you from 0 to 90% in about 30 seconds. I'll show you in a second. If, on the other hand, you were building something that was maybe drafting emails that you will approve and send, or even sending them without a human in the loop, super high stakes. Use a prompt engineer, read the system instructions really carefully, and tweak them as you need. Take the instructions back to the prompt engineer when it does something you don't like and say, here are the instructions, here are the things that it's doing really well, but it's doing this thing that I don't like. Can you help me tweak those instructions and give me version 2? And when you do that, if you provide version 1 instructions, it will read them really carefully and then give you a version 2 with updated content that you can test. That's an evaluation, the process of evals. There's lots of different ways to do that. That's a fairly sort of quick and dirty approach to evals. You can be really structured about it as well. If the stakes are extremely high, there are really structured, really geeky, really deep ways to do evals where you put everything inside a database every time you test it, and then you give an agent the whole database of inputs and outputs. And it takes all of that information instead of analyzing based only on just one interaction at a time. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole right now. I'll start to share my screen and we'll get started. Cool, that looks like it's sharing. So on the left-hand side here, I am inside a workspace called Newsletter Agent. And I'm going to click on the plus and go create agent. So this is the snazzy new feature on the right-hand side here. You get a little pop-up called Agent Creator. Some of the features on this page, if you've been here before, have moved a little bit. They're all still here, but the advanced settings like choosing your model or setting your temperature are now inside a little drop-down, because this agent can do that as well if you want to let it. So in another tab, I think I'll pull up Prompt Writer as well. Let's do that. I'll just go back to Browse Agents. Yeah, we can leave anyway. So I just clicked on the plus there, and then went to Browse Agents. Now I'm on a page full of pre-built agents that you guys can choose from. Prompt Writer is our prompt engineer. So I'm going to get that one. That's inside the workspace now. I might actually need to refresh this to make sure that, yeah, okay, it's there. Cool, so now I will, let me just open my little speech to text app, and then I'll I'll use my voice to prompt this agent so you don't have to watch me type out a big long message. And again, the prompt I'm going to use here is quite comprehensive because I've got a bit of a plan in my head and I've tested this already, but you can go through this process one sentence at a time with an agent if you want. And Prompt Writer is actually quite good at that. So if you start by saying, I want to build this thing, it'll extract information from you by asking you questions about what you're trying to build. And then it'll write those into the system instructions so that you get a more effective result. Cool. So I'm just going to test this first because sometimes it uses the wrong language. 1 second. Just testing. Interesting. That was a bit strange. It was the right language, the wrong words. I'll try it again. Let me go a little bit longer. Okay, I'd like to create an agent which reads newsletter emails in full from my inbox, summarizes the content succinctly, and sends me a nicely formatted summary of all new email newsletters into Slack, which includes some fun emojis, please. I've got a longer prompt than this, but I'm going to just test this thing first and make sure that it doesn't turn it into a different language. Cool. All right. We're looking good. This agent should check the time and date now at the beginning of each run. The system will provide the time and date. It should then filter for emails sent within the last 24 hours and labeled with the label newsletter. It should read each email it finds there, summarize it, add the summary to the message it will provide to me in Slack, and then mark the email as read and also archive the email. The agent must only include unread emails labeled with newsletter when carrying out this task. It must never take action with any other emails in my inbox unless it's instructed to do so. So I'm just pausing there for a second and I'll let this speech to text catch up. Okay, we're still using English, which is good. Right, I'll carry on. It will have access to the Gmail tool to see my emails and the Slack tool for sending the summaries. The agent will run every 24 hours, but I will schedule that myself. That doesn't need to be written into the instructions. And because it's running every 24 hours, that is why it's doing the backwards time filtering. So I'll send this prompt in a second and it should start to populate the form on the left-hand side without us doing anything. I might just ask it to include a placeholder for the Slack channel ID because that usually takes out one step of evaluation. Could you please include a placeholder for the Slack channel ID and I will add that myself? Cool. So look at that. Now it's starting to populate the form on the left. It's searching through the available tools because it has access to see what tools we've got in AutoHive. It's added the Gmail tool, so I still need to authenticate it. We're not going to ever allow an agent to do the auth process. It's added the Slack tool as well. We should start to see it add system instructions in a second. There we go. The system instructions are in. It's given it a little description as well. So this system prompt is still reasonably comprehensive, right? It's definitely longer than you would write yourself if you were going to build this agent. I'm going to grab this prompt and I'm going to give it to Prompt Writer at the same time, just out of interest, really, more than anything else. I'll come back to this one in a second and see what it does. It will write a really structured set of instructions. Okay, yeah, that one's taken off, so we'll just let that go. So I'm going to authorize or authenticate the tools. Gmail, I'll authenticate for everyone in the workspace using the demo account. and Slack, everyone in the workspace. And I'm just going to choose a channel that it can post into. Let's put it in daily brief. Okay, so the tools are authenticated now. It doesn't really need access to the content folder. If there were files in the content area in this workspace, it might look at them and confuse itself. So if an agent doesn't need it, you might as well take it away. Also doesn't really need web search access, but you could see a world where you might enhance the agent by saying, read the newsletter, get a summary, now go out to these sources and find out what he's talking about or something. I'll take it off for now. And that's all there is to it. So I'll hit create. So now we've got our agent. I'll test drive it in just a sec and show you the email inbox it's going to work on. This is Prompt Writer's Response. So, and I think this is Gemini 2.5 Pro. So probably a similar length set of system instructions. It uses a framework where, see that purpose and persona section, overview, workflow, it will always apply those sections. It uses a framework where it always does that. So there's use cases where you definitely want that framework in your system instructions. But as I say, for something like this, it's not a major. I do need to put that Slack channel ID in. Let me just grab that now. So this is the Slack space. When I authenticated that, I did add it here as well, and you get a little notification to say that it's been added. But in my experience, adding the channel ID as well just removes any ambiguity about whether the agent knows whether or not it has access. So I'll go back to the instructions. We should have a placeholder here somewhere. There it is. Let's check if that's anywhere else. There it is. Okay, so that agent's ready. This is the inbox that we're going to use. I just signed up to a few newsletters over the last couple of days to make sure that we had some stuff in here. Now, at the moment, none of these are labeled newsletter, and that was part of the instructions, right? I'm just going to double check that, but I did say that it should have that label, labeled newsletter. It's used lowercase there, so when I maybe I'll actually just change that to upper because I think I've already created the label in Gmail. Now, I'm not sure that would make a difference, but it's just one of those fine detail things that might help you skip a round of evals. So it should also do the 24-hour backwards time filtering thing, but let's mark the 2 TLDR ones with the newsletter label and leave the rest as they are. Still leave them unread, and then we can kick this agent off and see whether it ignores the rest and pulls in anything on these. Inside Apple's Pivot, Meta, onboarding culture, vibe coding. Okay. Could you please send a brief for any new newsletters? You see, actually, brief might be the wrong word. I'll say summary. So let me just drag that across to half of my screen. Drag that one across to that side. So when it's done, it should drop into this channel. Looks like it's found it, which is a good start. Now it might send an awkwardly formatted Slack message. Sometimes it doesn't do a great job of formatting the messages for Slack, and that takes a little bit of back and forth to get it to do that well. Oh, that's actually not too bad. It's put some bullet points and emojis together, which isn't my preference, but it's not terrible. Newsletter digest. So rise of AI websites, TLDR marketing, and TLDR. Oh, so that worked. That was a one shot. So that's pretty powerful. And what you could also do here to make this even cooler and less less admin again, would be to create your filters for the newsletters you've signed up for, so the label gets applied. Obviously, if you want to come in here and label them newsletter, you might as well read them yourself. So if you come in here, let's have a look at Lenny's, for example. Lenny's, that's a weird from address, but you can grab the from address and then go from that to that. Don't need a subject. Create filter, and then apply the label newsletter. Create filter. I think there's a setting in there for applying it backwards, which I didn't tick. But any new Lenny's newsletter that comes in now will have that label applied. So you might just, when you sign up to a new newsletter, create a new filter in your inbox to make sure it gets tagged as newsletter, and then your agent will send you a summary of it without you having to read it. I don't want to go too far into like morals or ethics discussion, but like, what do these tools mean for people who write newsletters, right? Suddenly no human eyes are landing on them. An agent is reading it, deciding what the human might find interesting, and then sending a summary. Now, I would probably argue that that's a positive time saver, but for the reader, that's the case, right? It's not the case for the writer. The writer still puts all of the same amount of time into creating the newsletter in the first place, and the human who would otherwise open it and read it and find 20% of it interesting gets 80% of their time back. So I don't know if we spend the last 10 minutes discussing that, or if we want to do Q&As. I don't mind. But maybe I'll stop sharing for now, and if anybody's got any questions, we can start there, or comments on the future of email marketing.